I am Emily May, and this is that hashtag show. And I am so excited because today we are speaking with the walking weapon, Josh Alexander, the Impact World Champion. And I am so excited because so much has happened in the last week, and there's more to come with Impact Wrestling. So welcome, champion Josh Alexander. It's so great to speak with you today.
Thank you very much for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm on the full Media Blitz tour talking about Lone Star Stampede for August 26th, 27th here in Dallas, so talk about Impact Wrestling, like I said, is the easiest thing for me to do because I grew up a fan and now here I am as world champions.
I mean, it is such a full circle moment for you. Talk about that. You just had an emotional and very impactful match at Emergence. You retained your championship against the one and only Alex Shelley. And that was such an emotional speech that you gave. How does that feel to have this huge circle moment to be facing your heroes in the ring?
I mean, facing my heroes, I've done it a bunch of times in the past. I've been very fortunate. I've faced the likes of Samoa Joe and like countless names along the way. I've been very lucky. And Alex Shelley, obviously one of those names that, qualifies, as well as that whole story and build to that match was completely genuine. Like everything I said, from watching him on an independent show in 2005 to getting in the ring the next day and so on and so forth. But by the time it broke down to the end of that match and I grabbed the microphone, it's like, it's not a planned thing. Nothing's written for me. They're just like, if you want to say something, say something. And I just started talking, and it was like, I guess the word is verbal diarrhea or whatever they say. Like I'm just saying things, and sometimes it makes sense. And oftentimes, fans watch this stuff and they try to criticize and like look at it under a microscope, like it's some like analytical promo or something like that. But like, that was just me talking straight from the heart. And like, there was a point in it where I almost got like, I blame my kids because I never got emotional before I had kids, but where I almost like teared up. And that was all in part because it was just like a thought process. When I was talking about how Alex Shelley inspired me to get into a ring. And I thought about me possibly inspiring somebody in that audience that night to do the same. And it just like, all these emotions flooded towards me. And it was just like, it was a cool moment because I often can't think of that stuff beforehand, but when they do happen, like I get stuck in this completely genuine moment where it feels special. And like that night especially was special.
I mean, I feel like as wrestling fans and especially Impact Wrestling fans, those genuine moments are really what makes Impact Wrestling special. Like you said, you had that beautiful speech in the end, and that really drives the storytelling moments that Impact is so great about telling. How do you use who you are and, seeing your heroes and seeing, you got to see Alex Shelley wrestle, and that inspired you to start and, jump in the ring the next day. How do you use that to give you drive as champion every single day?
Well, like oftentimes pro wrestlers have characters and gimmicks and all this other stuff. And me, it's just, it always felt right to just be genuine. And a lot of times wrestlers don't want to admit they were fans because they feel like it'll devalue them or their stardom or something like that. And I just never felt that way. So I'm very comfortable just admitting that, yeah, it was a huge mark for Alex Shelley and all this other stuff. But now as champion, like the way like it all comes together is that like I understand the immense responsibility I have. And like some people in the past have said that belts are props, and that's fine. And I can completely disagree with them and they can have their opinion, but I don't think this is a prop at all. Like I certainly look at the history of the people that have held this championship and carried this championship, and not only, to be in the history books as champion, but to represent this locker room right now. Like that's the thing I take a great deal of pride in, because I love everybody in this locker room. I feel like like I said in that post-show promo, like we are the hungriest locker room in pro wrestling because we have a chip on our shoulder. We're out here to prove the world wrong, because the overwhelming consensus from at least the wrestling community is like Impact Wrestling seems to be a meme from, the mid 2015s or whatever it was. But yeah, we're out to prove everybody wrong, and that's why we put on these amazing shows just like Emergence, Rebellion, Slammiversary, all that stuff. I don't think there's any better promotion that knocks it out of the park.
I mean, speaking of your championship reign, you're a multi-reign champion. What do you want this second reign to be for you?
Like obviously I want to try to sustain it for as long as humanly possible, but it's pro wrestling. It's not always going to happen. The deck is stacked against me. Everybody's coming at me from all angles. When I think about goals though, because it's always about progression, I always want to be challenged. And that's why I re-signed with Impact Wrestling. I thought the greatest challenge for me was to be with this company and try to grow this company while growing myself. I could get the most out of what I wanted, which is being in the ring, being challenged in main events and stuff here, at least for the immediate future. I want to go down in the history books beside like my heroes, AJ Styles and Kurt Angle and all those other names, as one of the greatest champions. I want, when people think of Impact Wrestling, instead of immediately thinking about AJ Styles, I want them to be like, oh, maybe Josh Alexander, and that could be the biggest goal I could set. It might be out of reach or something like that, but I'm certainly going to die trying to achieve it.
I mean, as a champion, you always have that target on your back. I mean, you've been taking this title and going across the country, around the world, defending this already. You've had some opponents that have targeted you. What do you have to say to those that are looking to challenge you?
I mean, I can completely understand why they want to challenge me. I was in their shoes once too, I was looking at Moose at the top of the mountain being like, I cannot wait to knock that guy off. So I understand why everybody's looking at me right now, coming at me from all angles. But, all I can say is that when they do, they're going to have the fight of their life on their hands, because, it took me 14 years to get signed to Impact Wrestling. And now nearly 17 years into my wrestling career, I have now realized the ultimate goal of being a world champion, and I'm not going to let it go easily.
All right, all those challengers are going to have to take that to heart, put in that work. I mean, because we'll see, there is this #1 contenders match happening actually tonight. Yep. And there's a slew of talent in that match that could potentially challenge you. And so, is there anyone specific that you want to call out?
Oh, I don't know if I want to call anybody out specifically. I've been in the ring several times with Sami Callihan in the past, so I know that would be, a different style of match that I'm used to, and it would definitely throw a wrench into most of my plans, because I am not good at the things that he seems to be really good at. But it would be a challenge nonetheless. But there's a lot of first-time ever matchups that are possible from this, be it Eddie Edwards, who has been a staple in this company for a very long time, Steve Macklin, who I think is gaining momentum like nobody else right now in Impact Wrestling. Rich Swann and I have never had a one-on-one singles matchup here in Impact Wrestling. And then you got Bandito as well, like a newcomer to Impact Wrestling. Very happy to have him in the locker room. I think he has a lot to offer this company. And, I would welcome the chance to get in the ring with him at any time. So.
That's all right. Everyone has to be listening in. You got to hear from the champ. So I also love that it seems like the Impact Wrestling locker room just supports each other. There's this camaraderie and just support from everyone. And as champion, you're representing that. And you get to watch all of these other matches on the card, especially that happened at Emergence. So how do you help support the rest of the Impact locker room? And also, a second part of that question is, what other matches were you just incredibly proud of? I mean, all of it was amazing, but I feel like there was some really standout ones.
Well, like I think we've cultivated this atmosphere of just like one-upmanship or something like that. So like no matter what the card, like if you look back to Slammiversary, that thing opened with the first ever Queen of the Mountain match, an Ultimate X match. It's just building upon each other. So like for me to go out in the main event, I'm like, I have to follow all this stuff. And I'm an extremely competitive person. I always want to steal the show, and they're making it that much tougher on me. But I wouldn't have it any other way, because it makes me step up my game. And I think that a lot of us have that same like-minded, philosophy on pro wrestling, that we all want to be the very best. Like I said, we all have that chip on our shoulder. So everybody's going out there to steal the show every single time. And it just makes us all raise our game. And the only difference between us and every other company I've been in locker rooms with is that there's nobody that's going to ever hold anybody back. Like if somebody comes up to you and be like, you know, I'm thinking about doing this tonight, you know, what do you think? I'm only third match though. It's just like, do it. Do whatever you want to. Try to steal the show. Try to make the biggest name for yourself possible. We're trying to get all the eyes on Impact Wrestling. We're trying to knock these things out of the park every time. And honestly, I think we have been. Every app special, every pay-per-view for the last year. Like, I don't think there's another wrestling company on planet Earth that can compare to the product that we're turning out on those shows every single time to give the fans their money's worth. And like I said, being the main event of most of those shows, a little inside story. I'm doing my warm-ups and stretches before the main event. And before the main event was Mia Yim versus Jordan Grace for the Knockouts World Championship. And I'm maybe 50 feet away from where you walk out, and I can hear the crowd, and they're going insane. I'm doing push-ups, and I'm doing Hindu squats and all this stuff. And I'm just listening to the crowd going, oh, how am I going to follow this thing, man? You know, and like by the time you get out there, everything settles down. It's just business as usual, and you settle into your thing. It's just got to hope it goes how it goes. And luckily, you know, I think that we both, Shelly and I, we exceeded our own expectations for that match. And if we didn't follow it, we tied it. And like, I wouldn't have it any other way. I was super proud of Jordan and Mia for going out there and giving what I think was one of the best matches of the year, regardless man or woman. So.
I mean, it was incredible. The crowd was wild, and everyone on social media, I mean, we're still talking about it, that match really just every time sets the bar even higher and higher. And as you said, you know, as champion, you're representing the company, but it sounds like there's this amazing support system around you that everyone just wants to go and level up every time. And so as champion, I feel like there might be a challenge for you in that sense, or is there some type of weakness potentially that you have to watch out for as you have challenger after challenger coming after you in the coming weeks?
Well, the only weakness is that it's all wearing down on me. Like I said it in that post-show promo that I'm more hurt than I care to admit. And that's true. Like, you get worn down. I have the biggest and baddest challengers coming at me at all times. And you're talking about marquee matchups they're not short. They're not easy. So I'm banged up. I'm a little, you know, bruised and hurt and getting out of bed a little slower than I used to, but it's all about the upkeep and to try to sustain this run. And, you know, I have to just, I'm lucky that the Impact Wrestling crowds are so loud, vocal, and interactive, because it gives me that much adrenaline to push me through, where otherwise I'd probably feel a lot of pain and wouldn't be able to.
Well, I know we spoke earlier about your inspirations, and well, how does it feel to be inspiring a whole new generation of wrestlers as they see you on TV, they see you in a live audience? There could be boys and girls out there that see you and want to be in the ring.
I mean, I see it firsthand every single day with my 4-year-old son. He's completely obsessed with me, and well, he's the biggest Impact Wrestling fan there is. If you saw him at the back at Emergence, he is taking photos of everybody. There was a point where I can't remember who it was. Oh yeah, no, I do. I was standing there in the ring with him before the show, and I'm looking at him, and he just froze. And I'm like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm looking at him, and then I finally followed his eyesight over, and I'm like, "Oh, he sees PCO," and he was like, "Dad, that's PCO." You know what I mean? So to see how just first and foremost, my son is inspired by all these guys, and, you know, he's completely obsessed with them. For that, you know, to carry forward for me to inspire any other, you know, young people out there that want to be pro wrestlers or anything like that. Like that's what people did for me in the past. So if I can do that in the future, that's the biggest accomplishment I could have.
It's so beautiful. And I love that he's your biggest fan and biggest Impact fan, because that's so special, seeing them in the audience. And I've seen it firsthand as well, like with signs and cheering the loudest. That is the true impact that you're making there. So as we wrap up, I wanted to ask you a few fun questions. What is the one song that you listen to get you in the zone?
Ooh, that's a tough one. It's one song I listen to get me. Okay. This is going to go back to high school, I guess. But I would say Korn Follow the Leader would probably be one of the biggest ones on my playlist forever. So, yeah.
All right, that's a good one. That definitely will get you in the zone. And if you had to do karaoke, what would your song be?
I will probably expose myself here a little bit, but it would definitely be a country song. Maybe Eric Church Springsteen, if anybody's familiar. So
Okay. Do you want to sing a little bit up?
no, God, no, you couldn't pay me enough.
All right, noted. Okay. All right. And then what is your favorite road trip snack?
Well, like I try to eat pretty clean, but if I'm not eating clean, if you stop at Pilot's or Love's gas stations and you go to the candy section, it's kind of an obscure like bag of candy, but it's graham crackers with white and dark chocolate drizzled on it with marshmallow bits. I don't know what it's called. Anytime I see it, I buy like 6 bags of it and bring it home because you never find it anywhere. But like that's the ultimate for me.
Nice. So it's like you kind of like the s'mores texture thing going on.
Exactly.
I like that. I like that. And then if you weren't a wrestler and you played for any sports team, what would it be?
Oh, I would be on the Toronto Raptors for sure. Basketball has always been my sport. And Vince Carter doing the dunk competition back in 1998. That's what got me into, basketball as a whole. So I've been obsessed with that ever since.
Amazing. Well, I love it. Thank you so much for joining me today, and good luck in the coming weeks. For all of you, you have Lone Star Stampede in Dallas on August 26th and 27th. And then you're leading into Bound for Glory in October. So everyone go support Impact Wrestling and get tickets at impactwrestling.com. Thank you so much, Josh, for joining me, the champion. I was very, very excited to talk to you today. And I'm Emily May. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Emily May Heller and follow that hashtag show. Thank you for joining us and have a great day.